Hello, welcome to the Paper Snob. This is Tara. Today I am working on Stretch the Sketch. This is a hop. It's a monthly hop hosted by Galaxy Girl Creations. I will have information linked below for that, as well as our playlist for 2024 for Stretch the Sketch. And because Janet is super kind and nice to us, she gave us this month's Scraptember sketch to use for our Stretch the Sketch layout, which means I'm working on Scraptember today as well. And so I usually take this time, I think I said this last month, to go ahead and do a 2-page layout, because to stretch the sketch we have to just do a different size layout than what the sketch shows. This sketch, as you can see, is a 12 by 12 layout. It has 2 photos on it. I have 3 by 4 photos printed, so I'm going to have a few more photos on it than the 2 photos, but you're going to kind of see where I get the sketch where I get inspiration from my sketch. And I pulled some miscellaneous fall stuff here. I've got some Freckled Fun, some Simple Stories, some Close to My Heart, some Elle Studio, and a few other crazy things here. I also have, this is supposed to be a mini album, but it is chipboard and it is by Maya Road, who is no longer in business. But I'm going to take it apart and I'm going to use this for some bases for this layout. So I'm going to pause, I'm going to get started, and I'll be right back. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to paint my pumpkins. I'm going to use some really old acrylic paint, and I actually put way too much and ended up with a huge mess, but it's okay. Really it is. It's okay. I'm going to clean off my fingers first, and then I'm just going to grab the paintbrush and get started. But first I'm going to mask off my pumpkin stems so that I don't accidentally paint those orange. I don't want to risk ending up with brown stems. I want them to be green. And this goes really fast. I'm just using a paintbrush. Sometimes I paint chipboard with a foam brush. It just really kind of depends on my mood. But in this instance, I'm just going to use this paintbrush. It's getting a lot of use in my room lately. I've been using it for a lot of stuff. And I kind of just smooth out the paint, and I pretend like I let it dry, and then I add another coat. This acrylic paint is relatively thin, so it needs 2 coats. Otherwise, you can see the chipboard underneath it. I've ran into that problem in the past, and so I didn't want that to be an issue this time. So I went ahead and I paused the video and I cleaned my big paintbrush, and now I'm going to come in with a little paintbrush and paint those stems. And again, I'm just going to get 2 coats on here pretty quickly without letting them dry too much in between the coats. It's not going to matter that much. So the paper that I'm using for my base, I actually printed from my Silhouette Studio software. It is something that I've never done before, and so I was playing around with my 12 by 12 printer trying to see if I couldn't get it printed, and I ended up printing 2. And I will say this at the end of the video, but I'll say it here now. Normally when I'm doing a 2-page layout, you will see me tape the 2 together on my mats, because I don't want them to shift, especially when I'm lining up other sheets of pattern paper like I'm doing here. But because this is paper that I printed at home, I know from experience that if I put washi tape on it, it is going to end up taking a layer off, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm kind of just winging it here. So I have used 2 pieces of Simple Stories. That's the orange on orange, the tone on tone pattern that's in the middle, and then I have used 2 pieces of Freckled Fawn, which are the other 2 pieces. I love that orange plaid on the back of the diamond print, but I really wanted to use this diamond print. Some of this Freckled Fawn paper is relatively old in my stash, and I've had it for quite a while, so I wanted to make sure that I pulled it for this layout and used it up. And I just grabbed a bunch of miscellaneous stuff to use. So the next thing that I'm going to do is something that I normally do off camera, but I am playing with the positioning of these photos. Now on the left hand side, you're going to see the two photos that are on the sketch. Of course, I'm using 3 photos, but I took the 4x6 photo and I just used 2 landscape 3x4 photos, and I'm going to put that on that side. And then on the right hand side, I'm actually just flipping the sketch a little bit so that I can have a mirror image on my layout. Now this is a pocket card from one of the L Studio kits, and I'm cutting out those labels to use for journaling. And typically you will see me cut labels out from my label binder, but this was perfect because they were in my fall, this card was in my fall themed drawer. And it means that I can go ahead and use this pocket card up. Now, I don't do pocket card scrapbooking typically, but this is one way that I do use pocket cards. I cut them apart. Sometimes I'm just cutting apart the icon that's on them. Of course, in this case, it's labels. And then I've actually going to be using, I think, 3 or 4 pocket cards on this layout, and I'm getting them out of my stash, which makes me really, really happy. I've already put another one on the left-hand page, and I've tucked it behind that set of photos on the left. So I went ahead and grabbed some green cardstock from my stash, and I'm going to cut mats. I grabbed 2 sheets. I don't actually need both sheets, but I wasn't sure if I would or not as I was cutting, and so I'm just going to cut down the mats and get that done. And because I have 2 places for a 4x6 photo, the mat is 4 1/4 by 6 1/4, and then the smaller photo is 3x4, so the mat is 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. And this way I can just go ahead and get these matted on here. And I love that this gives the layout a little bit more of a pop of color. Kind of got the idea when I was cutting that pocket card apart and realized, hey, I'm adding a color on here that I don't have in my pattern paper, and I'd already painted the stems of my pumpkins a similar color, so I thought, this will work, and I'll be able to get this other color on here kind of easily. So because this mat is a little bit large, I'm going to trim it down so that I have a fairly equal border around both photos. And rather than just play around with that pocket card, I went ahead and glued it down behind the photos so that it's done and out of the way. Next up, I'm going to do the reverse side, the mirror image side of the layout, and get this on here as well. And I think I have to trim this one down, or maybe, nope, I don't have to trim this one down. So those other 2 photos may not have been exactly 3x4. I've noticed sometimes when I print a 3x4 photos that every once in a while I get a photo that's not quite 3x4. I'm not sure how that happens, but then I'll get a photo that's bigger than 3x4 when it prints. And to me, it doesn't make any sense, because I thought when I pulled it in on the app that I'm using, it made both of them 3x4, but it's all good, it works. So I've got, basically what I'm going to put down. I'm going to use this 4x6 pocket card that says Tradition on the layout, and I noticed as I'm laying it down, like, hey, there's a perfect spot for yet another photo. And I had printed a bunch of photos for this layout and then didn't think I was going to be pulling them all in, so I'm going to grab one of those other photos and I'm going to cut it down, and it's going to end up on that 4x6 underneath the word Tradition. I'm going to go ahead and lay down my pumpkins. I just thought that they were a good base to put clusters of embellishments on. They worked really well, and I've pulled out a few things to play with. I mentioned that I had some close to my heart embellishments in there, and those will come in a second. This little packet of close to my heart embellishments has a couple little like fabric canvas embellishments. That's the pumpkin that I'm laying there, and then several buttons, and the buttons are pretty much what I'm looking for to use in this layout, and I'm hoping to get most of those down. I'm also going to pull, these are Freckled Fawn chipboard pieces, and I'm going to pull a couple things out of there. I know I pull in a chipboard phrase piece, and now I'm going to open up this, it's Maya Road, and I thought it was twine, but as I was playing with it, I don't know what it is. It's weird. It kind of goes on like one of those twist ties that you get at the top of a bread bag. And okay, but it's not what I was expecting. So I'm going to pull a couple of pieces of chipboard from the Simple Stories piece here, mostly hearts and butterfly on here, and just use those. And I think for the most part I'm pretty much done with embellishing this layout. I'm pretty happy with what it looks like at this point, and I'm just gonna, from here, I'm just gonna start making a little bit more decisions and getting things down. All right, I got this layout completely done. Pretty happy with the way it turned out. I found another photo and I added that in there, so I have 7 photos all together. I thought this was regular twine, but instead it's a little different. It's almost like those bread twist ties that you get on a loaf of bread. Anyway, I just tied a very loose bow out of for both pumpkins, glued everything down, added some fun foam here and here. Really, that's it as far as the fun foam goes. This ended up being a really simple layout, which is awesome, and I hope that you enjoyed watching my process. I do want to make a note that normally when I do a 2-page, you guys have seen me tape it down with washi, and the reason I did not do that this time is this is pattern paper that I printed myself. And I know from playing with it in the past that if I stick anything on it, it's stuck. And if I pull it off, I'm going to rip layers. So I just prayed that I got everything even. So I want to thank you for coming to my channel today. I really appreciate those of you who take the time to like, comment, and or subscribe. If you are new to my channel, I would love to have you subscribe to my channel. I try to put out 2 to 3 videos per week, except for during the months like September and October when we're going to be doing daily posts. I'm participating in Scraptember this month, and next month is 30 days of sketches with Christy's Beautiful Life. So I will be probably posting daily content for a little while, as much as I can. I am currently at We Create, so I'm cropping with my friends and hanging out with the Scrapbook Generation crew. So I hope that you have a great rest of your day. Bye.